Well, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to our city council meeting. It's nice to hear all the energy and buzz going on. Welcome to our city council meeting. For the record, it is Tuesday, April 23rd. It's a few minutes after 6 o'clock. We'll start with roll call attendance. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Byrne. Here. Councilmember Palmer. Here. Councilmember Little Roberts. Here. Councilmember Cavanagh. Here. Councilmember Borden. Here. Mayor DeVeard.
Here.
And Councilmember Milam is absent.
Thank you. Item number 2 is a Pledge of Allegiance. If you all rise and join us in the pledge to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is our community invocation. Tonight will be led by Pastor Justin Jordan. He is with Real Life Ministries. If you will join us in the community invocation or take this as an opportunity for a moment of reflection. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for giving us another beautiful day today, and thank you for the leadership that you have given this city and the blessing that you've poured out in this city. We pray that tonight would be a meeting where people will be able to come and discuss openly and honestly and respectfully what's going on in the city and the decisions that need to be made. We pray that all the decisions we made would be made with what's best for the residents of Meridian, and that you would continue to allow the city to thrive and create safe places for families, and for people to continue to grow and this community continue to become stronger. Just thank you again, Lord, for the leadership of this council and the leadership of this city. May you continue to use them and bless them, and we thank you for all their hard work and the late nights that they put forth for our community. We pray this in your son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you. Item 4 is adoption of the agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borden.
we have a few amendments. We have added on an item 6AA and 6AB. These are some easements that were received after publication of the agenda. Those are both placed on the consent agenda. We also are correcting item 7C. That is going to be an action item. Same topic, but there will be action taken potentially. And then we're also going to add on as a new 9K, a request to approve a letter of support regarding a grant with VRT and Compass and ITD. A draft of that's been handed. All of that came about just moments ago, so that's the reason for the timing of the addition to the agenda. So with those amendments, I would move that we adopt the amended agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as amended. All those in favor
Madam
say.
Mayor, sorry,
Oh, I'm sorry.
maybe just a point of clarification for either Council President or Mr. Neri. The items that we're going to add to the consent agenda, 6AA and 6AB, do we have to read what those are as we're adding them to the consent agenda, or will we address that when we get to the consent agenda?
We'll address those when we get to the consent agenda. Thank you for that question. So the motion is to adopt the agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
All ayes. Okay. Mr. Clerk, any signups under item 5?
Madam Mayor, there were no signups.
Okay, thank you. Item 6 is our consent agenda.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Borden.
The two items that we added, AA and AB. AA is Paramount Director Subdivision Number 2, a pedestrian pathway easement. And AB is TM Creek Subdivision Number 3, a pedestrian pathway easement. Both of those being completed and made available after the agenda was published. So with that explanation, I would move that we approve the amended consent agenda for the mayor to sign and clerk to attest.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Byrne.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Borden.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. There were no items moved from the consent agenda. Item 8A is a presentation from the Idaho Transportation Department. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. If you'll please state your name for the record.
Absolutely. My name is Carmen McKinnon. I'm the statewide coordinator for child passenger safety, and I am based out of Limhi County Sheriff's Office. Madam Mayor and Honorable Council, I am grateful here today to be a part of this proceeding. I appreciate the opportunity to take a few moments of your time to recognize one of your finest employees here at Meridian City, and that is Miss Pam Orr. Pam, will you join me, please, up at the podium? Pam started with Meridian City in 2005, and she became a certified car seat technician in January 12, 2006. At that point, she started the car seat program at Meridian City Fire. The first time that I met Pam was just on a phone conversation and trying to figure out what the needs were in Idaho and how I needed to help all of our inspection stations statewide. And just meeting her over the phone, I went, there's nothing I can help this lady with. She is so driven. If there's going to be anybody helping anybody, it's going to be Pam helping me with this position. So I truly appreciate her and all she's given to us. So she implemented the car seat program within Meridian Fire Department. She was given the full support to require that all of the firemen become certified in child passenger safety. This has been witnessed throughout the state, and many agencies are trying to implement the same program that Pam has started here in Meridian. So she's a true leader with that and a hero. So I so appreciate that. To date, Pam has seen to it that 45 of your firemen here in the city of Meridian have become certified in child passenger safety. And with that, having those folks certified, you've provided over 33 car seat inspections, helping families with community education, with car seats. You've helped families with their needs and providing those families with car seats for their children to be transported safely and correctly. Pam recently engaged the city of Emmett with their fire chief and convinced them to send at least 4 of their members to a child passenger safety training that we recently had in March at the Meridian Fire Department. So now we have that extra growth in the city of Emmett and Jim County, so we can help some families in need there as well. So she just keeps expanding, and we can't say thank you enough. She has actively participated in 2 of the National Child Passenger Safety Week TV presentations with KTVB. And she has continued to grow this program, becoming a technician proxy, which means that helps the rest of us as instructors with our needs to help make sure that her technicians within the fire department stay certified, have all the resources that they need to continue to be on board with this nationwide program. So Pam, on behalf of ITD, the Idaho Child Passenger Safety Program, we would like to thank you for your continued expertise, your commitment to the program, making sure that families are traveling safely and correctly with their little ones, and providing the resources that they need to do that. So I would like to present you with our 2018 Champion of Child Passenger Safety, Pam Orr. Thank you.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, I think that, look, I couldn't do this without 1 million people, right? And so I just need to say that ITD has been amazing. Karma has been amazing. We have received numerous grants from ITD, from Cherie, thank you very much, who has ensured that those grants have allowed us to be able to purchase car seats. And Walmart and Meridian has allowed us to purchase those car seats at cost. So this has not been, this isn't about me at all. It's not about me at all. It's about all those project partners out there that have been able to do that. And I just have to thank my administrative team, honestly. So if it wouldn't have been for Chief Niemeyer coming on board and saying, I agree with this program, I believe that we need to keep the little people in Meridian safe, we wouldn't have the support to have all of our firefighters trained as car seat technicians. And that's a huge thing. In this community in the Treasure Valley, fire departments are running away from this commitment. They're running away from the commitment, right? And this is a commitment that we need to have for these little ones, period. Period. We need to have it for the little ones. We need to keep our community safe. And so I can't take this, without saying thank you. I've had your guys' support. I've had admin support, and it just keeps going on and on and on. So thank you very much, and I just appreciate you. So, yeah.
Now,
thank you so much.
Pam, I know it's very easy for you to pass the buck, but you just heard why it really takes a spark. And this woman doesn't have just a spark. She has a fire burning in her belly. And it does take someone to really drive the conversation, to push the program. And you are quite the force to deal with, especially when you get something in your mind that you're going to do. Stand out of the way, right?
That's exactly
It's going to happen. So all the kudos to you, Pam. And yes, it does take more than one person, but you got it initiated, started, and you kept pushing. So thank you on behalf of our community.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. And thank you so much, truly. There's no way that this would have worked if Meridian wasn't the type of community, the type of city to really allow for people who work here to be able to do things like this. It just wouldn't. So thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Kavanaugh.
And Pam, to that point, the reason why our community is so great is because of great employees like you. And I just want to say, in addition to Pam, for those that are in attendance, Pam is not only exceptional at her job and cares so much for little kids. In my opinion, you're one of the most amazing humans I've ever met, and we're so lucky to have you serving in our community. And I'm glad you got to receive that award tonight.
And you can tell she's beloved because she has a cheering squad out there too. 8B is under our Meridian Arts Commission, and I will turn this to Hillary.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. We were fortunate enough with the Arts Commission to be able to go and judge the West Ada Student Art Show Framed and select boxes to be nominated for traffic box wraps in the urban renewal area with a partnership with MDC. So I wanted to share those nominations with you today and get your consent on reaching out to those students and offering them an opportunity to have a traffic box art wrap. So this year with West Ada's Student Art Show Framed, they had a theme. They used to do themes in the past and they've kind of gotten away from it, but they went back to having a theme because I thought that it made a more cohesive show and might have made a more even playing field for some of the kids that are participating. So this year's theme was Celebrating Idaho and Our Community. I'm trying to follow the same format that I did in years past, where you get to see the artist name, grade, school, and then also now the artist statement. Because these wraps will be in the URA and we're out of the traditional size traffic box wraps, these ones before you today will be paired with an existing wrap. On the white box, I mean, it's kind of a small picture, but on the white box adjacent to existing wraps here in the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through these. I think you guys all had these in your packets and had a time to read the artist statements before the meeting, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to see the images again and ask any questions if you had any.
I love that one.
It's so cute.
My favorite one.
That's awesome too.
This year we got the commissioners that were authorized with going out and making these selections got there before Mayor Tammy, so we might have snaked a couple of her choices.
Yes.
But it was a really great show. I do want to give a quick thank you to Amy Vaughn, who's coordinated the whole show. She's been amazing. She's helped me numerous times, and she's also bringing the show to Initial Point Gallery. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then also just kudos to all the kids that participated. It was really difficult to make decisions this year. So please take advantage of going up to the gallery in May and seeing all of the student artwork. It is really, there's some really incredible stuff to be seen. That's for sure.
I think, Hillary, it's kudos to you to work with Amy in bringing that exhibit to Initial Point Gallery. That's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
And long waited, and it does give our student artists even more exposure for to highlight their talent.
Yes, yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, I want it to be as easy for Amy as possible so that she'll do it every year. Are there any questions or comments?
Council, any questions?
Pretty cool. Well done.
Okay.
I'm going to stand for the next one too, I guess.
Yes. We will move right into item 8C, which is a discussion about the Fire Station Number 6 Public Art Project.
Yes, so the Meridian Arts Commission is asking City Council to approve a re-release of the Fire Station 6 Public Art request for proposals. Upon review of the initial proposals, the selection panel weren't entirely thrilled with the range of the proposals received, and then in the process of reviewing those proposals, I think there was it kind of brought to light that the fire department is really looking for actively engaging in making their staff a more diverse staff, and the highest scoring proposal from the original selection what looked kind of like a traditional white male firefighter. And in light of the fact that the fire department has been actively looking to diversify their staff, they didn't think that that was necessarily the right first foot forward as far as public art installations go. And I think they really realized that what they were mostly looking for was something that could be not only gender inclusive, but also maybe symbolic in nature. So that's referenced in the revised RFP draft. Chief Niemeyer suggested something like that could include bugles or trumpets or the Maltese cross, other things that are symbolic of the work that our firefighters do, or of the history that they have, that might make as big of a statement as something that is more of a figurative person. The other addition to the RFP is an additional $5,000 towards the budget. That $5,000 was, the whole project was debated when we were going back for new, or when we were talking about looking for more proposals or new proposals. And the Arts Commission had originally budgeted for a $5,000 downtown public art project in their fiscal year 20 budget, but they, especially in consideration of MIAC having their recycling bin program that will be bringing art to downtown, they decided that they could move that $5,000 towards this project and hopefully get a little bit broader of a range, or encourage people to apply or propose when they might not have proposed in the first round. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions? Ms. Lowell Roberts?
Madam Mayor, do we need a motion on this, even though it's not an action item?
It is an action item.
Yes, we did amend it to be an action item, so we are looking for a motion to approve the re-release for requests for proposals.
In that case, I would like to move that we approve the proposal for the re-release for the RFP for the public art project for the Fire Station Number 6.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Okay. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Byrne?
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer?
No.
Councilmember Little Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Aye.
Councilmember Borden?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you, Hillary. And last but not least, item 7D is also under the Arts Commission.
Yes, this item is a net zero budget amendment for a contribution to the Concerts on Broadway series, but also the budget amendment includes an arts development component. So the Arts Commission is engaging this year in revising their strategic plan, and they applied for a technical assistance grant through the Idaho Commission on the Arts and were awarded that grant. So they are just seeking spending authority for the contributions from the Idaho Commission on the Arts and from the partnership with the Meridian Development Corporation for Concerts on Broadway.
Thank you, Hillary. Council, you do have a budget amendment in your packet. Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Little Roberts.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the budget amendment for net zero for the contribution to the 2019 concerts on Broadway.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 8D. Sorry. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Madam Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Palmer.
just want to explain my vote on this one. I'll be voting no, because 10,000 of it is coming from the Meridian Development Corporation, which is loaded with debt. And I can't support him spending money on other things until the debt's taken care of.
Okay. Any other comments? Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Byrne?
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer? No. Councilmember Little Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Aye.
Councilmember Wharton?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you, Hillary.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hillary.
Nice evening.
Okay, under 9A, we do have, it's the final plat for H 2019-0048. The applicant has requested a continuance to May 7th. Staff, the request is based on, what is the rationale behind the request?
Certainly, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Staff and the applicant were working diligently to get the final plat staff report wrapped up. The applicant felt like there was an error in their application, and they wanted to go back through their records and verify items before they solidified their staff report with us, and so they've asked for that continuance so that they can go through their records, verify everything's accurate, and then bring forward an application that meets their expectations.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Council, any questions for Bill?
Oh, ma'am.
If not, I would entertain a motion to continue this.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borton.
we move item 9A, H 2019-0048 to May 7th, 2019.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to continue 9A. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Okay, 9B is a final plat for H 2019-0028. This item was not on the consent because we had not heard from the applicant. Any comments from staff?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, again, applicants in agreement with the staff report. Again, we just didn't meet the timeframes in order to get that placed on the consent agenda. So if the council is amenable to not listening to all this application as an entirety, we just ask that you approve as written in the staff report.
Thank you. Council?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borton.
if there is no discussion, I move that we approve item 9B, H 2019-0028, as set forth in the staff report.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve item 9B. There's no discussion. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Byrne?
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer?
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Aye.
Councilmember Borton?
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 9C is a final plat for H 2019-0033. This received comment from the applicant after the deadline and after publication, but they are in agreement with staff comments.
It's accurate, Madam Mayor, members of the council, same situation as the previous application. I did want to go on the record. I did speak with the applicant this afternoon, and they wanted to at least have me go on record to remind the council and remind staff that they did receive a waiver of the Lemp Canal to remain open along the frontages of this particular project. There was a condition of approval in the staff report that they tile all ditches and laterals, but I told them that I would bring that to your attention this evening, and staff remembers the waiver, and we'll get that corrected in the staff report as we prepare the final plat order.
Great, thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borton?
unless there are questions, I move that we approve item 9C, H 2019-0033, inclusive of the conditions within the staff report, and to reflect the amendments that Bill's referenced here today as well.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve item 9C. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Burnt. Aye. Councilmember Palmer. Aye. Councilmember Little Roberts. Aye. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Okay, item 9D is a public hearing on H 2018-0090. This application has been requested to be withdrawn by the applicant. Is there anyone here in the audience that wanted to comment on this item? Bill, is there a statement on what was behind the withdrawal?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, this was definitely a unique situation. This application was before our commission, continued multiple times. It was going to come before you with a recommendation of denial. In discussions with the applicant, it appears the property had sold to a different entity, and so they no longer wanted to pursue the particular project, so they're asking for your acknowledgement of the withdrawal this evening.
Okay, thank you. Council, I will need a motion to accept the request for withdrawal.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borton.
move that we accept the request to withdraw as to H 2018-0090.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the request to withdraw the application on item 9D. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Burnt.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Aye. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 9E is a public hearing for H 2019-0045. I will open this public hearing and ask for staff comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Next item on the agenda is the Bengal parking lot short plat application. The site consists of 18.96 acres of land currently zoned IL in the city limits and located at 915 East Central Drive. The applicant is here to discuss subdividing the property from one parcel into two parcels. The northern parcel, which is Lot 1, Block 1, will be a future school site, and Lot 2, Block 1, is planned to be a future parking lot for the Idaho State University campus, which you can see in the graphic on your right-hand side. A 25-foot wide landscape buffer is required along the frontage of Central Drive, as it is a collector roadway. I would make mention to council that the applicant did submit a concurrent alternative compliance request because currently Lot 1, Block 1 is developed with athletic fields and a parking lot, and so a portion of the site doesn't meet the 20-foot wide landscape requirements of code. They have received a director's approval of that alternative compliance to allow the remaining buffer to stay as is until the lot redevelops with the school site. But there is approximately, if you can see my cursor here, there is approximately 200-plus feet that is undeveloped at this point. So as part of that alternative compliance request, the director was amenable to allowing the existing buffer to remain, but anything in this location had to come up to current UDC standards. So they are required to put in a 20-foot landscape buffer for approximately 200 feet of that frontage as part of the alternative compliance request. Staff did receive ACHD comments for the new access point to Central, which is also located along the eastern boundary. ACHD did not have any comments or require any additional right-of-way to be dedicated with this particular application. However, they did state that that future access will be reviewed and approved when ISU comes in with their certificate of zoning compliance and design review for the parking lot. I would also mention to council that there is an existing access that was approved just to the east of this one that will be closed in order to facilitate this new one. So there'll be some adequate spacing between this one and the closure of the other one. And then also in the staff report, you can see here in this particular graphic, we called out that the existing parking lot accesses could remain as is until such time as Lot 1, Block 1 develops as well. I also wanted to make mention to you that late this afternoon, staff did receive some park comments, new conditions of approval that need to be added to the staff report. The applicant was working with our Parks Pathway Coordinator, Kim Warren. She did prepare a memo for you this evening that's included in the packet, and there's approximately 7 conditions of approval that need to get incorporated as part of your motion this evening. And I'd also mention to you that one of the conditions need to be reworded. Because one of her conditions stated that prior to submittal of a final plat, they needed to record pedestrian easements. Well, this short plat is essentially a final plat. So the application's already been submitted. So that condition number 2 in her memo needs to be rewritten to say prior to city engineer's signature on the short plat, you will have to record the easements. So if you can make those modifications, I believe the applicant is in agreement with all other conditions of approval. And with that, I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Bill. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Kavner?
question for Bill. You said the memo that was added to our packet, is that a supplement that was added? Is that, maybe I missed it within the packeted information?
Agency comments.
Yeah, it might be under agency comments. Thank you.
Thanks. I was looking for a separate memo. I appreciate it, Council President Morton.
Okay, is the applicant here this evening? Good evening. If you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Ryan Morgan of Keller Associates. Business address is 131 Southwest 5th Street, Meridian, Idaho.
Thank you. Great address. We hope you move, but
Well, that is, yes. Shh. No, we are in the process of looking at new places to work here in Meridian. We have currently outgrown our existing site and need to relocate. But that's a different topic. I would just like to say that based on the latest and greatest staff report that came out, including the stuff from Kim Warren this afternoon, we appreciate the efforts there. We kind of scrambled a little bit yesterday as that kind of caught us off guard with the Pathways request. But staff was very open, and we've had multiple conversations with them over the last 48 hours. They've been very supportive. We've all come to an agreement that my client is happy with, and we are in support of the staff report as it is currently written. Just a little background, with the construction of the ICOM building and classes now in session there, parking there at the campus has become tight, and the purpose of this whole process is to split the lot so that Idaho State University can buy a portion of ground from West Ada School District to construct up to approximately 600 parking stalls. There's an alternate that will allow up to the 600. It may only be 450. That's still to be determined. But it is much needed parking, if anybody has been on that campus is well aware of. And ISU would like to actually physically own the ground that their parking lot is on. So it's the purpose for this application at this time.
thank you. It seems like parking is the theme tonight. Council, any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Mr. Clerk, is there anyone that has signed up to testify?
Madam Mayor, there are no sign-ins.
Okay. This is a public comment period. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to provide testimony on this item? Okay. I take that as an enthusiastic, we support this.
Madam Mayor?
Mr.
One
Borton.
quick question for staff. Bill, remind me on the alternative compliance, does the director approve it, or do they recommend it for us to approve it?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Councilman Borton, the director's already approved the alternative compliance.
Thanks.
Okay, if there's no further questions, any further comments from the applicant? Okay. Okay. Council, if there's nothing further, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borden.
close the public hearing on H 2019-0045.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on item 9E. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borden.
move that we approve H 2019-0045, short plat application to include the conditions of approval that are put in the Parks Department memo dated April 23rd, 2019, referenced tonight as well. Understanding that condition number 2 in that memo will be amended to read, prior to the city engineer's signature on the short plat as opposed to prior to submittal of the final plat for the city engineer. So with those included conditions as changed and clarified here, move we approve all of that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve all of that as stated. Any questions or comments? No? Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Burnt.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Borden.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Congratulations. Item 9F is a public hearing for H 2019-0031. I will open this public hearing with staff comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Next item is the Quindale Condominiums, project number 1, short plat application. The applicant is, the project site is located at 4574 North 10 Mile Road. The applicant is here this evening to discuss subdividing airspace for an existing 17,800 square foot medical office building that is currently under construction. Essentially, what the short plat will do is nothing is changing to the site. Basically, what you can see here, the exhibit on the right-hand side is they're taking a large building and creating 3 separate tenant spaces that they could sell to other potential owners and buyers. The applicant received written testimony from the applicant, said it's pretty straightforward, nothing he needed to add to the staff report. He's in agreement. So I'll conclude my presentation and stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Bill. Council, any questions? No? Is the applicant here? You have any comments? Okay. There are no comments from the applicant. Mr. Clerk, are there any members signed up to testify?
Madam Mayor, no one signed in to testify.
Okay. Council, any questions for staff or the applicant? Okay. If there's nothing further, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Mr. Burnt.
I move that we close the public hearing for item 9F, H-2019-0031.
Second?
A motion and a second to close the public hearing on item 9F. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Mr. Burnt.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve item 9F, Quintel Condominiums H-2019-0031.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve item 9F. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Burnt.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Borden.
All ayes. Item 9G is a public hearing for H 2019-0047. I will open this public hearing with staff comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Next item on the agenda is the Bainbridge Hess Subdivision Number 2 miscellaneous application. The applicant is here this evening to discuss modification to UDC 113A6D, which basically they're requesting that an irrigation easement that runs along buildable lots be on an easement on those buildable lots rather than a common lot. So the council did approve this final plat back in July of 2018. And again, the applicant did go out, met with the Lateral Association's user group. You can see here on the exhibit on the right-hand side that they have signed off to allow their 20-foot easement to be along the rear of those lots. So currently, the way the UDC reads is if you have an irrigation facility that needs to be contained in an easement greater than 10 feet. It needs to be in a common lot. In this particular case, this easement is 20 feet based on the irrigation's requirements. The applicant would like you to take action on their request to leave it as an easement in lieu of a common lot. And it's similar to what you guys did in a previous phase a couple years ago. They went through the same process where the McMullen lateral was spanning between two subdivisions, and the council was amenable to allowing that to remain in an easement versus the common lot. The applicant's in agreement with staff's recommendation to keep that in as an easement, and I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Bill. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Borton?
Real quick, Bill, so this would prevent the homeowner from planting new landscaping in their backyard or along the rear fence line? And do they understand that any and all of it can get ripped out at the homeowner's expense?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Councilman Borton, if the one that we acted on a few years ago, the developer came, testified, and agreed to put some signage along their fencing and inform the homeowners that they need to limit their encroachments within that easement. So typically no trees, no sheds, no structures. Hopefully, and the developer also communicated to putting that in their CC&Rs or in their purchase and sales agreement, if I recall. My memory serves me correct. So we're hoping that they'll have that same verbiage and take those same additional steps to inform homeowners that there is limited things that you can do in that easement. But landscaping will certainly be something that they could do in there, just not trees or anything that's real aggressive roots.
And I see the applicant's representative here, so we can ask him to comment on that as well. Any other questions for staff? Okay. Hi, Jonathan.
Madam Mayor, good evening. John Wardle, 12601 West Explorer Drive in Boise. Until tomorrow, and then we move. So, Mr. Borton, the question regarding that easement, we've actually entered into a license agreement which is recorded with McMullen, and that goes both on the plat, but it also is recorded against those lots. And as Bill had noted, we will disclose that as we have done with every single phase. They are limited on what they can put back there, no trees, no sheds, things like that. If you went to Google Earth, some people do that, but it really is at risk, and the irrigation district will come in and remove that, and it would be both the obligation of that homeowner and in some cases the HOA if it's on common lot to make any repairs. So
I've seen beaches in backyards going down to the creek or irrigation canal.
Madam Mayor, I think it's the disclosure.
Yes.
All I wanted to make sure. It sounds like you guys certainly have it covered, but homeowners at their own risk, they want to try and encroach on it. So
Madam Mayor.
Disclosure's the best you
Yeah.
can do.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Borton, that's correct. So we request your approval for this. We apologize we didn't pick up on it in July. It was an easement. It was actually, it was installed after Phase 2 was built. Typically, there's a 10-foot easement on each side. We needed to put it in at the request of McMullen sooner than later. So we did that, and we've just picked up at this point. These lots actually are deeper on that side to accommodate for it. I think they're about 135 feet deep instead of your typical 120 or 115. So we try to make the accommodation for it.
Awesome, thank you. There's no further questions. We appreciate you being
you.
here. Mr. Clerk, are there any citizens signed up to testify?
Madam Mayor, no.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to provide testimony? Okay. Council seeing no further comments or anyone signed up? Mr. Borton.
I move that we close the public hearing on H 2019-0047.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on item 9G. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borton.
I move that we approve H 2019-0047, the request for modification to UDC 11-3A 6D.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 9G. Is there any discussion from council?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Borton.
just to be clear, the staff report says 3A, 6C, C or D. The fact that I mentioned it might have screwed it up.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'll go with the hearing outline, say 60.
Okay. I hear a D as in dog?
E. Yep, 60.
D.
Okay. All right. That's, we're good.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Burnt.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
All ayes, motion carried. 9H is a public hearing for H 2019-0019. I will open this public hearing with staff comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The last land use project before you this evening is for annexation and zoning of 2.34 acres of land. It's currently zoned R6 in Ada County and is located at 885 South Locust Grove. The comprehensive plan future land use map designation for this parcel is commercial. The applicant is requesting to annex and zone this property to CG to construct an off-site parking lot with approximately 190 spaces for the Idaho College of Osteopathic Medicine, or ICOM. The applicant is proposing one access point via East Central Drive. A 7-foot wide sidewalk exists along Central Drive and Locust Grove Road. The applicant is also planning to install wayfinding signage to guide pedestrians to the signalized crosswalk at the intersection of East Central Drive and Locust Grove. Over here, a detailed site and landscape plan and elevations for the maintenance building that's proposed will be required for the CZC and design review application. The applicant is proposing to keep the Hunter lateral open and locate a section of the city's 10-foot multi-use pathway to the east. So that's right here. And the applicant has also provided a drive aisle stub to the northwest part of the site for future redevelopment should it happen. The commission is recommending approval of this application. Testifying in favor of the application were Dr. Robert Hasty, the applicant, and Tamara Thompson, the applicant's representative, during the commission hearing. There was no opposition of the project, no written testimony, and there weren't any key issues of public testimony during the hearing. Key issues of discussion by the commission were safe pedestrian crossing from proposed parking lot across Central Drive to ICOM campus, alignment of proposed access point to the existing ICOM parking lot access point to the south, wayfinding signage to direct pedestrian traffic to the crosswalk at Locust Grove and Central Drive, coordination with ACHD for the crosswalk and a hawk signal to align with an existing access point to the south, and location of the multi-use pathway. Commission changes to the staff's recommendation were to strike condition 1.1.b, requiring the applicant to coordinate with the property to the west, which is right here, to align parking lot access with the existing ICOM parking lot to the south. They did add a condition that the applicant work with ACHD to construct a crosswalk from the proposed parking lot across Central Drive. The applicant has done such, and they've actually submitted a site plan that's shown on your screen now with the crosswalk to the west of the subject site. Outstanding issues for City Council tonight is that the applicant would like to keep the Hunter lateral open, so they do require a council waiver to do so. So that'll be something that you'll need to grant them if you so choose. There was no written testimony since the commission hearing, and with that, staff will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Cavanagh.
Stephanie, is there already a signalized crosswalk right there at Locust Grove and Central?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Cavanagh, yes, there is. It's right at this location. Maybe, I don't know if you can't clearly see it on the map, but yes, it's signalized right there.
That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Let's see applicant's representative here. Good evening. If you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely, Madam Mayor, members of council. My name is Tamara Thompson. I'm with the Land Group 462 East Shore Drive in Eagle. We have worked closely with ACHD. Staff mentioned that one of the items that Planning and Zoning Commission wanted was a second crosswalk. So we have worked closely with ACHD, and we do have that approval from them at this location. And as Councilman Cavanagh mentioned, there is a second walk here, but planning and zoning thought walking backwards when the front door is over on that area, that there would have been a lot of jaywalking. So we were able to solve that. With me, I have members of ICOM here, if you'd like to hear from them. One of the main reasons for the parking lot is for their accreditation. It's a very important part of their accreditation. And Dr. Hasty can talk to that if you'd like to hear from him. If not, we've read the staff report and agree with staff's analysis and the conditions of approval as proposed by staff and by Planning and Zoning Commission. So I will stand for questions, or if you'd like to hear from Dr. Hasty, he's here to talk as well.
Thank you, Tamara. Certainly, if Dr. Hasty has any comments, we always love to hear from him. But council, any questions for Tamara while we have her up here?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Burnt.
Hello. How are you? I have just one question for you. Why the move to have the access a little bit further west from the existing access on the other side of the road?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Burnt, the property, and I don't know if you have I have a PowerPoint I can bring up, but you can see the property in question is right here. And to align with that driveway is not part of this property. That's an offsite that would be dealing with the state on that. And then it also doesn't provide a real good throat before it turns. It's an awkward. It's not very deep, and then it has to cross that that canal as well, that lateral. So it really didn't make sense, and we went into all of that in the planning and zoning side, and they agreed with us, and for those 3 reasons.
Makes sense.
Any other questions for Tamara?
Tamara, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Borton.
Sorry, thank you. I'm skipping a step. It was kind of a sideways question, so I was sort of excited to ask it. That little triangular piece where the crosswalk is, just to the north of Central, do you know who owns that? Who's that parcel is that?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, Councilman Borton, I believe the state of Idaho does as part of the state. That's their police facility there.
Oh, just a little unfenced little triangle. Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Always time for a side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Hasty, do you have any comment? Okay. Mr. Clerk.
Madam Mayor, there were no sign-ins.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to provide testimony on this item? Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Cavanagh.
seeing nobody jumping up and down to testify, I move we close the public hearing on item H-2019-0019.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on item 9H. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Cavanagh.
move we approve item 9H, item H-2019-0019, the annexation of 2.34 acres. Include all applicant and staff testimony. It's referenced in the staff report.
Have a motion and a second to approve item 9H. Any discussion from council?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Palmer.
does that include the waiving of the requirement to tile the lateral?
Madam Mayor. Thank
Mr.
you,
Cavanagh.
Councilmember Palmer, for reminding me, yes, my motion did intend to include that, although I did not reference it, so I appreciate the point of clarification.
Second concurs.
Very good. Anything further? Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Burnt.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Congratulations. You have a parking lot. Or soon.
Second one.
Item 9I is a public hearing for our CDBG amendment, and I will see Crystal is in the room, and I will turn this over to you, Crystal. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So just a reminder, you guys have seen this several times, so
Sorry, I just talk really quiet or something. I don't know. So thank. That always helps. So you guys have heard this several times, so I'll try to give you a quick overview. This is the substantial amendment for the MDC projects. They have 2 open sidewalk projects right now. The first one, it came in higher than anticipated in the bids, and so we are wanting to amend the action plan to cancel the second project and move that money towards the first project so we can cancel it, or so we can complete it. So this is a map of the first one. The purpose of this one is to improve connectivity and increase safety for students walking to and from school. The orange is the area where the sidewalk will be. Again, it's been out for bid 3 times, and all the bids were substantially higher than what they had available. The project that we are wanting to cancel is this one that is on East 3rd from Broadway to the train tracks. It is to eliminate blight, and it's a step towards the planned parking area that we had wanted to do. So in the actual action plan, then these are a summary of the changes that we'll be making. Basically, all the changes are just removing the name of the project and changing it to the new name and then updating the funding amounts. So again, on this slide, then it shows the changing names. This one gives a little bit more detail on the description of the project, the beneficiaries, and the location description. And the final narrative that we'll be updating is to remove the information about slum and blight and to add in the information about the new sidewalk project that was previously reapproved. The final change that we'll be making is to the attachments. So we'll be adding the substantial amendment summary, the legal notices for the public hearing, the public comment period, and then if we receive any public comments, which we haven't received any written to this point. So here is what it looks like. MDC did apply for funding for this year for the East 3rd right-of-way project. Today we're having the public hearing, closing public comment period, and hopefully approving and adopting the resolution. Tomorrow MDC has the amendment on their agenda so that it can be signed by the board. And I will inform HUD of the amendment on, or no later than Friday, and the next meeting that you guys have, then I will have the signed MDC amendment for you guys to approve. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
So Crystal, that will come back then in May, but the resolution 19-2140 is for the plan itself.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? We appreciate that. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that was signed up? Mr.
Madam Mayor,
Clerk?
no one signed up to testify.
Okay. Is there anyone who would like to provide testimony on this item? Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes. Mr. Byrne.
I move that we close the public hearing for item 9I.
Do we want to keep the public hearing open?
No, this was the final day of
Okay.
the comment period.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes.
Madam Mayor, how do we proceed? Are we going to conjoin item I and J together with the resolution? How would you like to handle?
Well, this is a public hearing on the amendment, which will come back in May for your action at that time, as I understand it. Is that correct?
So the amendment, what will come back in May is actually just the signed amendment. So the resolution is to complete this today, so it is connected to this.
So authorize the signature today so MDC can sign it tomorrow.
Sorry, I'm not making myself clear. So authorizing the substantial amendment to the action plan, and then we'll go through with the steps to do the amendment, and the amendment will come through next time. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
That makes sense.
Madam Mayor, do we approve 9I and then go to item J? Is that how I'm reading that? As done, right? Just J? Okay. Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Byrne.
I move that we approve resolution number 19-2140, a resolution approving adoption of a substantial amendment to the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan for Program Year 2018.
Have a motion and a second to approve the resolution under 9J. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Byrne.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Aye. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Borden.
Aye.
All ayes. Okay. Item 10A is under our Public Works.
Sorry, I
Yes.
apologize, Madam Mayor. We had added.
Oh, the
start
letter.
item K.
Okay.
And I think Mr. Hood is going to open it up for our opportunity to provide some response and some support, quite frankly, to a grant that's been made available. And a letter's been drafted, presented, passed out today that would encompass that recommendation.
Council, you have the draft letter in front of you, and I will turn this over to Caleb.
Madam Mayor, Councilman Borton, you just stated essentially what I was going to say. I was made aware about 2 weeks ago. Councilman Cavanagh is one of the city's VRT board members, contacted me, asked me to inquire about potentially writing a support letter. I did get some talking points from VRT. I've got a little over 4 pages, and I kind of went through those and customized them a little bit, and that's the letter you see in front of you. More or less, or you like it as is. I did briefly talk to Councilman Cavanagh just before this meeting, right when I was handing out the letter. I have already unbolded Valley Connect 2.0 from the letter. The clerk does have that letter, but I can print another copy. I stand at the ready to make any other tweaks, changes, whatever you'd like to do with that letter. They are asking for any support letters no later than April 30th, so this being your last meeting of the month. If we're going to support this, it is something we need you to act on today, though. So if there's any questions, I can stand for them, but with that, that's what is before you right now.
Thank you, Caleb. Mr. Cavanagh, do you have anything you want to add?
Madam Mayor, nothing, actually, just thanks to Caleb for flipping this around quickly and working with VRT staff to make sure we hit the highlights. Everything else you guys have going on to be able to crank this out. This support would go towards a grant that would provide some purchase of some buses that would be like a clean air bus, similar to the update that we had heard from VRT from Stephen earlier this spring. Having municipal support is somewhat critical in these types of requests, so appreciate council support on this.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Palmer.
Caleb, I assume this is going on our letterhead?
Correct. The clerk has, Madam Mayor, Councilman, the clerk has a copy on letterhead. I just gave you guys draft copies. Again, I'll run and print another one. I just didn't want to be premature in printing another copy. I've made the one change. It'll be on letterhead, and then again, Valley Connect will be unbolded. Yes, on our letterhead.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Palmer.
The federal government has no money, so I have a hard time asking them to pay for electric buses that can continue to be more buses that we have in the valley without people on them. Can you wipe my name out?
No. It is under my signature. The letterhead has all elected officials. If the majority decides to support this and move forward, it goes with all elected officials' names on there.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Palmer.
At the beginning, it says the city of Meridian submitting a letter in support. Any chance of wording that in a way to say most of city of Meridian council support?
Madam Mayor.
I'm just trying not to be attached to it.
Mr. Cavanagh.
I guess just a point of clarification. We are elected as a council to represent the city. There are votes that go down week in and week out that I'm not in favor of, but when the ordinances are approved, my name is still listed just like all of our names are on it. If the council supports this letter, it would represent the city. I can appreciate the perspective that's coming from Councilmember Palmer, but
we are elected to represent an entire city.
Okay. Any further comment? Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Madam
Thank
Mayor?
you.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm
Point of
sorry.
clarification, I don't think a motion's
We probably
been made.
need a motion.
So, Madam Mayor, I move we approve item 9K, a Federal Transit Administrative Grant Request Support Letter for the mayor to sign and submit to VRT.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion outside of what we've already had? Sorry.
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Little Roberts.
as the representative to the Air Quality Board, I just would like to say that I support this, and I believe that if it was in front of the Air Quality Board, they would support it as well.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Burnt. Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Borden.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. Item 11A is ordinance 19-1822.
Madam Mayor,
This,
10A. 10A. Did 9K.
oh, I'd already moved on. Public Works.
Actually, Madam Mayor, I have this.
Oh, this is for you.
Yes, this is a SWAC
Under
item.
Public Works.
Yes, it's a SWAC item. It's under Public Works because now the Public Works staff are the leads with the SWAC commission, but David Miles couldn't be here tonight. I told him I'd explain this. This is the annual appropriation the SWAC commission has authorized up to $500 for parts and tire group for the Recycle a Bicycle program that's part of the Unplug and Be Outside. That's in association with the parks activities. So the main sponsorship of the Recycle a Bicycle is from Republic Services. They provide the bicycles, they provide the refurbishing. This is the things that happen on that particular day in promoting this project. So the SWAC has authorized the $500. We have also put in requests that will be talked about at the budget time to have a small appropriation for SWAC on an annual basis of up to $1,000 so that the SWAC commission can simply appropriate that without it having to take the longer process to come back to the council for a small project. They only have one or two small projects a year. Most of anything else is more significant than $1,000, so those would always come back to you. But anyway, this is the annual request for up to $500 for Recycle a Bicycle.
Thank you, Mr. Neri. Any questions for Mr. Neri? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Little Roberts.
I move that we approve the budget amendment to up to $500 for spending authority of the existing community recycling funds.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Burnt. Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts. Councilmember Cavanagh. Councilmember Borden.
All ayes. Okay, now we're at 11A. Mr. Clerk, will you please read ordinance 19-1822 by title? And this is the third reading.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an ordinance amending Title I, Chapter 7, Section 5, Paragraph A2 of the Meridian City Code regarding days and time of the City Council work sessions and regular meetings and providing an effective date.
Okay, you've heard this reading. Is there anyone who would like to provide any further testimony? Okay. Council, any final comments?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Palmer.
It's been no secret for a long time that I'm not running again. And so I've had numerous people, especially lately, coming to meet with me, ask questions, and kind of learn about the experience that I've had on council and what they might go to expect should they decide to run. I've taken that opportunity to ask every one of them what their thoughts were on this, them already understanding that council meetings are at 6, and usually already knowing that on the second Tuesday it's at 3, but letting them kind of know, hey, the plan is to move to 4:30 every week. And every one of them expressed pretty strong concerns about that, about how much more difficult it would make it for them to be able to run. And I was expecting it to be more of kind of the younger people that might be interested, but it's been 40-year-olds plus, sometimes 50-year-old plus, where I thought maybe their situation might allow for it to not be as big of a deal, but every one of them expressed a concern about it. If we were to assume that you have to plan ahead for half an hour to get here every meeting, then that the average workday ends at 5, that would be 4 hours per month taken out of work to be able to attend the regular council meetings. Whereas as we have it now with that same half hour, it's 2.5 hours a month. So we're adding an extra hour and a half and making it a weekly occurrence as opposed to just once a month having to make that arrangement. I think the difficulty that's added does not justify the potential benefits. You know, we also usually on our workshop meetings will provide meals for council and staff that are sticking around and dealing with different issues after 6. Are we anticipating that meals will be provided every single week for council and those that are here, given that we're going to be here at 4:30? Or is there an assumption that people are going to plan ahead for that? Maybe that would be an additional time commitment that would need to be planned for, in addition to having to make sure they have time to get here before 4:30. So I can't support it because at first, like I had mentioned, I was 76.5% or whatever it was there because I kind of like the idea. But after talking to people and really thinking about it, I think it would make it too difficult for some people that might be interested in running to move forward with it.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Borton?
I appreciate the input in those remarks. I hadn't shared them with me before. And one, I think the trade-offs, quite frankly, the benefits outweigh any potential cost. I've heard the opposite with regards to concern on the meeting impact and some of the things that we discussed a while back. The benefits clearly, at least in my mind, still seem to outweigh any costs. I don't think it's going to have an impact on whether individuals run or don't run. The time commitment is massive, regardless of when you start. And this, I think 4:30 versus 3 o'clock is just a tip of the iceberg in the commitment that it's going to take for anybody to run for council, let alone mayor. So the benefit to the public who participates into our staff, I think, is the greatest improvement that this provides, but certainly we're going to watch and see how it unfolds, and nothing has to be set in stone. It's probably not the last evolution of meetings within our community either, so that's the reason I still want to support this now and watch it be successful.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Kavner?
I think when this was first presented by the clerk and Council President Borton, I commented that I didn't want to leave our workshop meeting. And part of that was because I believe in the functionality that is afforded our body during that meeting, but also is a little bit of change. And naturally, we all fear change. I think it's, I'm gonna, if the motion's made, I'm gonna support it tonight. I appreciate the comments from Councilmember Palmer, and actually the follow-up question from Councilmember Borton. 7 months from now, 8 months from now, we have a new mayor and 3 new council members. I think we as a body will get together and say, is the way we function still working for everybody? And do we need to bring back a workshop meeting? Do we need to change our times? And that's something that I'm committed to making sure that this body is able to perform for the needs of our public, but also for those that are elected as well. So appreciate the concerns. I think they're valid. And if those individuals that you speak to are elected and those concerns still remain, I think that's something that we as a body can look to try and make some adjustments as well.
Appreciate the discussion. And certainly, this is not cast in concrete, so it can be changed, as Councilman Kavner mentioned. Any further discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borton?
I move that we approve ordinance 19-1822.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Burnt. Aye. Councilmember Palmer. No. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye. Councilmember
Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 12, any items under this number. And Mr. Clerk, I think if we can put on the agenda any announcements on upcoming events at the beginning of the agenda, as was suggested earlier, I think that would be appropriate at this point. Do want to remind council about the town hall meeting at Sienna Elementary tomorrow. It goes from 6:30 to 8. Topics that have been requested to comment on or Discovery Park update, the comprehensive plan update, and someone from the library to talk about the levy. We also have a fire department promotional and award ceremony on April 24th, which is Thursday, here at City Hall. It starts at 6:30. And then the drug take back and free shred day is this Saturday from 10 to 2 at Blue Cross of Idaho in their parking lot. So with that said, I would move to item 13 and to entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Borton.
We go into executive session pursuant to Idaho State Code 74206-1F and D and 206, D and F.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn into executive session. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Burnt. Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts. Councilmember Cavanagh. Councilmember Borton.
Aye.